This drawing was so short and so satisfying that I didn't want to speed it up. Well, hello there, I'm Detroit. Again, I don't think I'm gonna edit this video much. Not that I usually do, but I'm not even gonna speed it up this time. You get to see the real drawing, the real process, the way I do the drawing while I do it real time. This is something I usually don't do because I can't speak freely into a microphone, so I have to basically script my audio commentary. And obviously a 30 minutes long drawing would mean writing like 10 pages, so I can't do that, at least every week. However, today I'm doing it, so I need your encouraging comments and likes on the video and maybe even subscription. Another way that would help me very much is if you watch this video entirely. Now, I know it's twice as long compared to what I usually do, and it's okay if you drop out in the middle of it. Just enjoy yourself, okay? And if you like this sort of drawing video, tell me and I'll consider it more often. Most of my drawings are more than an hour long, so I would never do a full drawing in real-time video, at least for now. But this one is fine. Maybe it's because it's exceptionally short that I'm compensating with a longer video. This morning I was in front of my computer, writing, but then the inspiration left me completely mid-chapter. And here I'm talking about my web novel, Universal Knowledge of the Tao, that you can find in the description. Anyway, I stopped writing and I wanted to do something else. Usually I only write in the morning, between my coffee and going to work. I only go to work at 9:30, but I'm up at 7, so I stay busy like that in the meantime. So here I am, not really feeling the writing thing. So what should I do? My sketchbook is right there, and my webcam is already in place. So I grab what I need, open the page, and without a thought, I put my pen on the paper. That's what you're saying right now. Man, I really hope these angles and cameras capture the way the ink shines when it leaves the fountain pen. That's one of the things I love the most about drawing with ink. The scratching of the pen on the paper too. That's two small pleasures in life that I wouldn't trade for anything. The ink shines for like 5 to 10 seconds only, and I find it so mesmerizing. I want to talk a little bit about the inspiration for this drawing. You see, I'm a big fan of Peter Draws. That should be obvious to you if you've ever seen me draw with ink and if you know his art. This drawing is basically a study of part of his art style. I was especially looking to replicate how he makes mechanical structures or buildings, not really organic stuff, which looks very different. I still have a bit of trouble giving off the impression of 3D while doodling in an abstract way, but I'm getting closer and closer to it. So this is why I'm taking inspiration for that. For buildings like this, the lines are very straight and very dense. They also flow freely. Most of the shape is actually made from the white parts in between the lines, but that doesn't stop them from touching here and there. From afar, it looks crisp and nice, but zooming in you see that they are just free lines. They don't need to be perfectly straight. Rather, I find it much more enjoyable when the wrist moves without being too precise. That is more enjoyable for the wrist. You have a lot less tension and you can draw longer, but also as a result I find it more interesting. The drawing is more expressive this way. That is all about experience in drawing, I think. The more you draw, the more fluid it is and the more control you have. At first you may think that relaxing your wrist and letting it do whatever in combination with your fingers is completely paradoxal and will not help with control at all, but really it's the opposite. You need to let it relax to have more control. After a point in your drawing history, your wrist will know what to do by itself and you won't have to tense up like before. The same is definitely true for figure drawing and more realistic visual arts too. If you want a long curve or a long line to be precise, it's better to use your elbow and relax your wrist rather than attempt to pinpoint exactly the right position of the nib of your pen. It also has to do with speed. Drawing fast makes you more relaxed and less likely to hold your pen tight. Your hand shakes and has little movements to it, so if you trace a line slowly, it is less pretty usually. This takes a lot of time to control, or dare I say to master, but it's worth it, and I think it's a really important step in learning to draw. Unless you are attempting a photorealistic project, you will benefit from big fluid and flowy movements. Even for patterns such as this one, very small and dense, it shows when it's relaxed. Also, look at the speed at which I'm drawing. You can see that I don't plan the lines ahead, I just do them mechanically without thinking. The drawing would be clearer and less messy if I took my time, but it would also lack life and expression. Drawing, just like art in general, is a compromise between precision and expression. This, while still being very much abstract, is riding the line of clarity by almost representing something. You can read the shapes into it and have your imagination fill in the blanks. For me, it's a building slowly taking form, a fortress of ink on top of a paper cliff. That's a really nice name, by the way. Fortress of Ink and Paper Cliffs are two names I could see for an indie music album. I'm diverging. Oh wait, I don't care if I diverge. I probably still have like a good 8 minutes to fill at least. Ah well, I can speak slowly as well. You know, this is a strange exercise, I'm not used to it. You're actually watching me take baby steps towards being more confident with speaking into a microphone. I have not scripted everything here. It took too long. Usually I also speed up my footage according to my audio, and I'm not used to do it the other way and speak for as long as I need to according to the length of the video. This is all new. Anyway, back to Peter Draws. Peter. He might be the reason why I bought a Rotring isograph and a Kawiko Sport fountain pen. Both of which you can see me use in a playlist in the top corner, by the way. There's all my ink drawings on there. You know, I sent Peter Draws a letter once, and he actually read it in one of his videos, so that's nice. I'm of the opinion that you should always tell people whose content you enjoy that you enjoy it. Even just a message or a DM is always nice. Just don't be an ass and leave bad comments and stuff. The way psychology works, I think, is, well, I guess that you tend to only focus on the bad things. Only the things that pull on your nerves will stay in your mind. So that's a good reason to overflow people with kindness and respect. And what I really respect in Peter Draws is the way he draws. The way he does it is so interesting. For the longest time, I couldn't discern what was planned in his drawing and what wasn't. After a while, I discovered that it didn't actually matter and it was useless to analyze. There are so many more interesting things to analyze from his drawings. What I am always interested in and amazed by what Peter can do is when it concerns the ratio of black and white. It's really hard to do, especially when not using a sketch. Inserting white areas in an otherwise dense drawing full of lines is hard. More difficult even is blending the two together, finding a way to shade in some way but using a specific pattern. If it were hatching, I could do it. But for this mess? I mean, look at it, look at the pattern. Again, I found the answer a bit later on in the drawing, and I straight up ripped it from Peter, so sorry for that. It is sort of hatching, but with more rounded lines. It also gives a good organic vibe to your shading. However, my drawing, by this point, is starting to look like the fortress of ink I was telling you about. So I need to be sparse with this shading, because I don't want too much organic matter in the drawing. In turn, I can blend in a rocky bottom to the fortress using that. You'll see it a bit later, I add a lot of it below, which makes the fortress sit on something rather than float. Or, I guess it could be clouds and it could be floating. Clouds too look organic. Or really it could be anything because it's abstract anyway. But because there is that shading below, the hatching from curved lines, now the drawing has a certain orientation to it. Rotating it would look less right to you, even though it's still a mess of lines. Again, that's all the talk about the line between clarity and expression. So yeah, that way of blending black and white I took from Peter Draws. But I'm sure it's alright. It's inspiration and learning. That's how you make your art better, by watching people do it and getting bits and bobs from everywhere. That's not really stealing, I don't think. I'm not taking artworks, or even part of artworks, just ideas and techniques, patterns too in this case. Actually, I do download a lot of pictures I find on the internet, either on Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, DeviantArt, ArtStation, the list goes on, you get the gist. I have folders full of references. You don't really see it in my drawing videos though. Digital drawing videos, I mean. Sometimes I will put a reference up on another monitor than the one I record, but I'm not really showing it. Most of the time I don't really put up art, but simply pictures and not drawings or paintings. I could also put the references on my canvas, and maybe that would help, at least help you see what I'm seeing, but it would flicker a lot when sped up, and also I'm not sure I'm allowed to do it sometimes, with copyright and all of that. More rarely, I will straight up draw next to the image I'm referencing, when I'm doing a study for example, or working on something specific, i.e. when I'm not recording. Characters especially, I would try to reproduce them next to the reference and then lower the opacity and put it on top of the original to see how it compares. That's where I see the wrong proportions, the angles, etc. when I'm like, ooh, compared to that, the head I drew is much smaller, and things like that. To first attempt a new style, it is very useful to use references. Studying manga characters and especially faces is something I do often like that. I first try to do it myself, taking mental notes of where I'm the most unsure. Then I pull up a reference of a face on my canvas and I adjust the things that look the most different between the two. Because I am doing it by myself first, I know where I'm good at and what needs more work. Eyes and mouth, for example, are something that is harder than nose or ears. The shape of the head too is relatively easy for me now. Digitally, you can also sketch over a reference. The head is again a good example of that. And I'm not talking about tracing what's already in the drawing, but deconstructing the shapes and making sense out of them. It is more about sketching what isn't there. For example, where does the center line of the head go from the top to the forehead to the bottom of the chin? At which point of a 3/4 pose does the side of the head get flat? Or where do the ears fall in relation to the eyeline? How much space is there between the eyes and the eyebrows? All of these are questions that can be answered by sketching over the reference. It's like finding the hidden rules and equations that govern a system by iterating the process. You won't remember everything or master every relation like these by doing it once, but over time, with repetition, you will get a natural sense of where everything goes. Drawing is putting a 3D shape onto a 2D surface, so you have to adapt the angles of everything you draw so that they make sense. Eyes are spheres, not circles or ellipses. When viewed from a 3/4 perspective, the eye in the back will be smaller and part of it might be hidden by the nose ridge. The eyelids are bulging slightly and the angle at which they join the rest of the skin will define how you shape that part of the face. All of that is simply too hard to be taken into consideration all at once, so the aim is to have some of it enter your unconscious ability to do it. Just like you fall a lot before you learn how to ride a bike, it will be hard, but at some point it will become natural. And then you never fall off a bike again, because it's completely ingrained in you. I mean, that's a skill, so it's normal to work to gain it. And referencing is a good way for that. You don't need to be like Kim Jong-gi and do everything from imagination. That is not a goal you should go for. So it's okay to reference. The more obvious it is, the more you should acknowledge where it comes from though. Don't make something similar to another art piece and call it purely your own. Especially when it might help people who want to learn. Do tell where you picked up that skill and idea. Okay, now that I talked about art, I feel like my contract for being an arts content creator is fulfilled. So let's change the subject. I have a project on my to-do list that is gonna be fire. Now, for the next few seconds, my boss from work, please don't listen, but I've been working on this project while I'm at my desk in between two experiments. You see, for work, I do coding in Python quite a lot, for data treatment and stuff. And my idea is basically to make a little piece of software in Python for drawing. This idea is a prompt randomizer. I want a UI, user interface, with all sorts of prompts from drawing, and I can randomize it with the push of a button. I'm talking about randomizing the subject, the style, the medium, the colors, basically everything in a drawing. And the way I see it, I want to be able to check which category I want to randomize. Here's an example. I know I want to draw digitally, so I'll uncheck the ink column and check the digital one. And maybe I want to draw a landscape with a character, so I'll check these two and uncheck the others. And of course I need to be able to see the list and freely add more prompts whenever a new idea comes. So I need to add all that to my script. And I know what you're saying. I don't need that. It works well with pieces of paper folded in a ball. Well, to that I have one answer. You're right. That's it. You're right. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just finding stuff to do at work when I'm on a break. And also I'm doing it at work because I can take pieces of software I already wrote for work to add them to this project. That's how programming works anyway. You just copy-paste from all the resources you might find to make your thing work. It's like using tape to piece together something functional. And we're back to references. Even programming is like that. You take inspiration and part of someone else's work. Most of the time it's Stack Overflow for me. If you work in computer-related fields, you know what I'm talking about. Stack Overflow is for life. You don't bother looking at manuals and stuff. Someone probably already had the same problems as you do, so go look for solutions and take the answer for your own project. So anyway, I'm building a randomizer interface that will be fully customizable to give original prompts for all sorts of drawing. But again, it's just a project, so you won't see it so soon. I just started yesterday and I have quite a few features I need to work in on the thing before I can show it to you. Maybe when it's properly done, I can put a download link somewhere in the description so that you too can enjoy it. Tell me in the comments if you want it when it's done. I'll feature it in one of my future intros though, that's for sure. The idea came to me originally for when I don't want to think about what to draw. I have so much inspiration and ideas for drawings that sometimes I just want to draw something completely different, so I can be even more behind on my list of prompts. So that's a neat little project I'm working on that you can look forward to. You know what? This ink drawing is complete now. I'm going to put down my pen in a second. I had a really good moment. I feel like we connected a bit over this strange idea of showing you a real-time drawing process. When you're watching this, the Ink Fortress drawing has already been posted to my Instagram at d3_sd, so make sure to go follow me there. Subscribe and check the notification bell thing to see my future videos that even I have not seen yet. Like and comment, as you should, and now I need to rest. I've emptied all I had to say. Until in a few days when I have more things to say. I'm Detroit. See you in hell, kiddo. Bye!